Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Denise. You're with Global Voice 2012 on Blog Talk Radio. Today is July the 25th, and we have had a very, very busy week at Global Voice 2012, and there is a lot of information coming out in the news, a lot of things happening, and we've had a lot of questions, and we are doing our very best to get all of those questions answered, and we want to thank everyone for their patience once again. And I am not going to waste anyone's time. I want to thank the few people who have stepped up to help me again this evening and cover the chat rooms, cover the email questions. And Dan Dieter is joining us this evening. He's been helping me too, and I want to thank everyone for all of your support and all your help, and especially to all of our members, and that is ever growing as well. Drake, welcome to the program. Glad to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, it's a good idea for me to be on my own program, I guess.
I would guess so. And I hope you're prepared for the barrage of questions I know everybody's going to have with all of the news coming out. So,
yeah.
And so we also have Minuteman with us. Welcome, Minuteman.
Well, hello, everybody.
Glad to have you with us as well this evening, as always. And
it's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and Lady Dragon, welcome this evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Lady Dragon. Okay, Drake, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started because we have lots of ground to cover this evening. So take it away.
Okay. This is refreshing. Several things have happened. One just a minute ago, and I really enjoyed it. Fox News had their little thingy on about the gun control treaty, and nobody thinks it's going to go anywhere, which is a good thing. Now, what I'm interested in is the list of people that vote for it. Those are the people that can be charged with treason, and my considered limited legal opinion. I've been apprised of a whole bunch of things that have been going on today. There was some real neat legislation I think Lady Dragon's got a report on, and I'd like Lady Dragon to blast off with some of the news.
Yes, Drake. Like I said on Sunday, that they were going to vote the bill, H.R. 459. Is the bill that Ron Paul had put in to audit the Fed. And then we got the result this afternoon. And with good news, it passed. It passed 327 against 98 people, which is very interesting because it passed with flying colors. And on my article that I wrote, you can write, I put the detail in it, and with the detail of it, you can actually see, click here to view the detail of the vote, and you can see all the 327 people that voted for it, and you can actually see the 98 who said no, and there's 6 that didn't vote, you know, so I advise you to call the 327 people that vote and say, thank you, great job. And the other that didn't want to vote or to vote against, you can call them as well and vote and voice your opinion on it. So that was a good start. Are you, Drake?
That's excellent. Have you got other news?
Yes, I do. But this is what we're discussing on Sunday that I was looking for. So this is a good start of the week. We still, like Drake said, we still have the one on Friday. We still need to monitor the gun treaty. Pretty much people think that what happened, speaking of guns, people think that what happened in Colorado is a false flag because when that event happened, the guns went up. So because they think that the politician will use that as a way to pass law against the gun. So I guess it backfired their little event, you know. Speaking of other good news, put the news on Monday or Tuesday, was in Ireland. Ireland has been a bit like Iceland. They've been on a case of people that are not doing too much good. They're starting. There's been a lot of things that's been starting there, and finally they arrested 3 bankers. The bankers that they arrested is a big bank over there. It's called the Anglo-Irish Bank. So the 3 people got arrested there. So in 24 hours there were 3 big arrests. So that's a very good start, seeing that people are starting to arrest the bankers. Hey, Drake?
That's excellent.
Other good news that I found, Monsanto too is in trouble. In Colorado again, they have passed that they don't want to have Monsanto or any type of in Boulder, Colorado, actually, in the county of Boulder, Colorado. They passed, they don't want any GMO food by Monsanto or any other company. So it's growing. More and more people don't want to have anything to do with GMO. So that's fantastic news as well. Other good news too, Mega Upload. You know, I spoke about that a lot, that we need to monitor what's going on with Mega Upload. Of course, the last news I gave is that the people that put the charge, the people that put the charge against Mr. had problems because the file the charge against the file is not working. Well, the latest news is they want to extradite the guy, but the last news is that it's going to be only in March 2013 they're going to be able to extradite the guy. So again, everything is falling apart for the bad people. Another good news, interesting news that I got here is the news about the tax event. I thought it was a good. It was a good example to show how everybody, very few, has the money. There was research made about the tax event with the super rich hiding at least 21 trillion. It's a very good article I advise you to read. In the finding of this Mr. Henry report, says at the end of 2010. 10 leading private banks alone collectively manage more than 12 trillion in a cross-border invested asset for the private clients. They said the 3 private banks handling the most assets offshore are UBS, Credit Suisse, and Goldman Sachs. And it's finding, the gentlemen find that less than 100,000 people worldwide own about 10 trillion of the wealth held in offshore banks. Interesting, eh, Drake?
Yes, it is. I'll post a little something about 21 trillion offshore yesterday, I believe it was. So it fits right in.
Yes. But that's about it for now.
Okay. Minuteman, you got any good news for us?
Why, yes, I do. The militias are growing like you wouldn't believe. Brother Drake, I want to thank you for that. Between our efforts out there, getting the word out about what protects us and our rights here in the nation, along with some other good patriots out there that are helping us along, and of course the people that are willing to step up and join. And well, my hat's off to everybody that's come to the plate of the militia. I want to remind everybody, let's keep the angry rhetoric down. Let's keep it professional. Let's feeding straight, folks. Let's bring that thing back screaming like the eagle it is.
Thank you. I got several different items to cover here, and even though Ron Paul got his Audit the Fed passed 327 to 98, there was a little retort from a turkey by the name of Harry Reid, says that it will not come up for a vote in the Senate. The basis of this goes to who's owned and who isn't by the Federal Reserve and the money people. Those who do not feel that they are owned or should be, those who further feel that it might be time to find out exactly what they're doing in terms of the money, I'll suggest trash can Mr. Reid and bring it in for a vote anyway. Just to cause him ulcers, if no other reason. It'd be nice to be able to get this through the Senate, and then the Fed's got a problem. Everybody knows that they're a private concern, but what they don't know is some of the fun and games that they've been playing with the money. That's the part that gets real interesting real quick. Now, irrespective as to who might think about what as to gun control, I've posted several things. One of them is titled Treason. Isn't this interesting? All of a sudden, innocent people are found guilty and are to be penalized for a setup. Yeah, that's right. That fun and games in Colorado was a setup. And you can read more about it. Now, one of the things that I noticed in this particular report was that 4 Democrats have come forward in the wake of the mass shooting in Aurora, Colorado, to voice support for new legislation aimed to combat gun violence. Their names are listed in that report, and I would suggest you take note of it and maybe talk to them. I'll get to that reason for that here in a couple of seconds. Other thing I posted was called gun control. This report covers a lot of things. What should be noted is a reference to laws on the books. Now, I put my 2 cents in, and it came out to about a quarter or something like that in terms of what my offering is. In terms of defense of yourself, knowing what to do, what not to do, the fact that Friday the 27th is D-Day on our rights, and that everybody be ready to defend themselves. And Lady Dragon mentioned that gun sales surged after Colorado Theater Massacre as buyers fear new restrictions. Well, I don't know if everybody noticed, but the gun control legislation I saw included our rights in it, and that bothers me. That's kind of like that electronic voting machine that said Obama already won, and that was 2 months ago. Okay, in Colorado, gun sales jumped in the 3 days following. The state approved background checks for 2,800 plus people is 25% more than average Friday to Sunday, and 43% more than the same interval the week prior. The people of Colorado have figured something out. In order to be safe, in some cases, sometimes you don't got a choice. And packing a gun does even up the odds when there's 3 or 4 of them and one of you, your wife and kids, or say grandma, or whomever might be with you. The simplistic look at this is people are beginning to catch on, and that's basically the idea. It's not just the Second Amendment rights and gun rights. They've already screwed with the First Amendment by taking down the church anti-government. Hey, what happened to freedom of religion? Thought that was guaranteed. What happened to the right to be government intervention in terms of what we believe we should do? what about a woman's right to have a choice in terms of what her own body does? What happened to all that? Well, got the same sort of fun and games in terms of people that are owned by varying interests, let's say. Now, it was cited in Congress by a variety of people that the shooting was evidence for need for tougher gun control laws. They're talking about ban on high-capacity ammunition magazines, certain types of weapons, and that sort of thing. And we just got over an assault rifle ban. Didn't work too well. It seems that somebody supplies these drug cartels and other crooks with the same weapons that everybody has been that are not available under the law. Well, somebody missed it. It's pretty interesting to me that the people that do these things are crooks anyway. Now, what crook is going to obey the law? You got to think, get this right. Then you got another one that I posted. Colorado shootings prompt campaigns to scuttle plans. I think it was at least decent that both campaigns called a halt and allowed things to calm down and said, we're sorry that happened. We feel that should not have happened. Now, people have called for this to be a time of unity, and quite honestly, just because this show is of a type that does not agree with the government in the manner in which it operates and is structured presently, does not mean that it does not appreciate at least some form of heart, and it may be a falsy campaign political BS maneuver, but I appreciate it, and I thank both campaigns for that. Now, that said, it's not something people can understand easily, but there are things that have been going on. One of these calls for tighter restrictions generally on firearms. And I understand that reasoning. If somebody wipes out a theater full of people, or at least wounds a majority of them, I can understand that taking that tack. That would seem to be the first thing to jump on. The difference that I see is that the Second Amendment rights need to be protected. I fully agree with this. My suggestion is one, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, which I don't care for much, in a radio interview, urged the president and his challengers to address gun violence forcefully. We need to do something, and I agree. It don't need to be nice necessarily, but we have existing laws that are pretty nasty. Now, I did not have time to check before the show to see what the condition of the 1934 firearms, or 1939 or whatever Firearms Act that was, where if you committed any crime and you was armed, it was a felony, period. And I think, if I remember correctly, if it was not a life-threatening deal where you pulled a gun out, but you just had it with you, you get an additional 2 to 10, whatever else you were doing. And, ladies and gentlemen, if the gun laws on the books, existing as we have them now, were enforced each and every time a person had a gun or used one in the commission of a crime, or during, or had it in their pocket while they were doing a crime, if these were enforced, you're going to get rid of the guns, and you're going to get rid of some of the people that are doing these things. Now, by rid of, I mean putting them away in a nice little cage where they're safe so they can't bite nobody. The other part of this is that it was a late post. Denise, I don't know, did you get that Switzerland has it right from Jack Morris posted yet?
I just got it, like as we were going on the air, Drake, and I have yet to post it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cover a little bit of this, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. This is going up it's going up on a page, and it's going out. And it's called, and the part of it I'm going to quote from is A Little Gun History. And everybody needs to really think about this. And this is something that can happen on an international basis if you don't watch them. The United Nations is not out for our best interest. If they were, they would act right, and they haven't acted right since they started. So, in 1929, the Soviet Union established gun control. From 1929 to 1953, about 20 million dissidents unable to defend themselves were rounded up and exterminated. Okay? In 1911, Turkey established gun control. From 1915 to 1917, 1.5 million Armenians unable to defend themselves were rounded up and exterminated. Germany, you remember Adolf, don't you? Established gun control in 1938, and from 39 to 45, a total of 13 million Jews and others were unable to defend themselves, were rounded up and exterminated. Now, okay, here we go. China established gun control in 1935. From 1948 to 1952, 20 million political dissidents unable to defend themselves were rounded up, and, yeah, the exterminator was used. Guatemala established gun control in 1964. From 64 to 81, 100,000 Mayan Indians unable to defend themselves were rounded up and exterminated. Uganda established gun control in 1970. From 71 to 79, 300,000 Christians unable to defend themselves. So sorry, Charlie, no tune today. Cambodia established gun control in 56. From 75 to 77, 1 million educated people unable to defend themselves were rounded up and then exterminated. Now, defenseless people rounded up and exterminated in the 20th century because of gun control, 56 million. Now, that's on the light side. Now, what you've got is a problem, and the serious problem is this. Everybody is familiar with England, Great Britain, however you want to look at that, and they established gun control where you had to give up your great-grandfather's shotgun, whatever, any kind of gun. You could not have one, period. And what happened there was really interesting. The forced entry into homes that were occupied went up something like 25, 30%. That wasn't really super, but that's the first week. The second week it went up another 85% in terms of reported crime, or the ratio. And it's been increasing here and there in different areas, or decreasing depending on the police presence. What they do is, and people have heard these stories in the news, different places, about the door gets kicked in, these guys got guns, or they're big and burly, and they beat up grandma and grandpa, and they make them go, they have one, they hold at the house, and they take the other one with the ATM card and they clean out the bank account. That sort of thing. They take all the jewelry or anything of value that they really want out of there. Sometimes it's just a kick-in. Now, when I say just a kick-in, that means that there's no intent to rob or anything else. They kick the door in, you go in there, and do what they want to with whoever's home. That could be your grandkids, anybody. And like I said, all of a sudden, it goes way up. Now, Switzerland has an interesting deal. They issue everybody who serves in the military a rifle. When you finish your military service, you get to take the gun home along with some ammunition, along with your equipment. And they have the lowest crime rate of any civilized country on the planet. Now, I want you to think about that. The reason we have not been outright invaded is because they know that about every second or third person is armed. And we have a reputation for being uncivilized in terms of invasions of different sorts. Great Britain learned some lessons. Then they came back in force and taught us a couple, and then we stomped on them. Then they decided they would take over through economic means. If you control the money, I don't care what else happens. And that's where your central banks are right now. But what you might want to consider is that all of this gun control stuff, and like I said, it's been reported on Fox News. That was the last thing that they had tonight. I think it was Brett Baer. And he went through this little round table. And nobody thought the thing would pass, first of all. Secondly, there's no way that it could have any effect, even if it did. Now, here's the third part. There's been rumors, and I want to step on a couple of them. The rumor is that somebody can sign this in terms of agreeing with it, specifically Obama or its author, our illustrious Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, or somebody of that nature, and make this into an enforceable deal. Sorry, Charlie, but it don't work that way. I don't say that they may not do that anyway, just trying to prove a point. What I'm saying is that irrespective as to what else goes on, the basis of the idea of changing the manner in which our government operates, this includes the courts, this includes police efforts. I tried to mitigate the Anaheim problem, and it has so far gotten worse. The people are PO'd badly. They had riots again today. This time they were riots. This time there was brick chunking, and I don't know if they had fire bombs or whether they did anything else nasty, but they had riots today again because there has been no justice according to the people. Now, no explanation of the execution of a certain person that was running, which started this. Then when they decided to say something about it, the police overreacted with their force, where it probably could have been avoided. I'm not saying that the protesters were all right either. I understand there were some rocks and bottles. Don't do that. That ain't the way you handle it. You go after the individual. I'm sure that person that had that deal with the supposed wrongful shooting of an individual is eventually going to get back on the street. I wonder what he's going to do then. And the reason I'm asking that question is I don't want the people to do something stupid. I want the people to show these people, and I'm talking about law enforcement or whomever, those in charge who order such things, they need to be shown that the people have had enough. Now, I posted something on my website, and I hope the veterans and I hope the military is paying attention to it. It is a similar injustice. The Veterans Administration likes to play games with people in terms of benefits, in terms of taking care of people who are wounded, whether the wounds show or not. And they get a class action lawsuit going. I would like everybody to be informed of that lawsuit. This is active. This is real. It ain't a joke. And the more the merrier. Get on board if you've been screwed over. If you don't have, if they told you that you didn't have PTSD and you haven't been able to sleep in a year, they're full of it. Well, legally prove it. Hang in there, grit your teeth. Now, if you got PTSD real bad, I posted a thing about that too. That's self-treatment, and that's basically what's going to be stated. If somebody really needs extra guidance, send us an email and put PTSD in as the subject, and I will address it. Now, to take this a step further, that's one area of the government that should have been acting correctly all along, and it hasn't. This is on orders from higher ups. Now, Caffrey. California is loaded with cash, and they're dead broke. And they're going to close everything down because they ain't got no money, and yet they got these accounts that show that they not only got money, but they got lots of it. Okay, that's just California. My question is, how many people looked? And I'm talking about any kind of a place you want to, any of the states you can feel confident in checking things out and seeing what really is going on. How many have looked to see if their state has the same kind of fun and games going on? This is part of this homework. This is part of that white knight in the mirror. Other people, I do not have time, to be quite honest with you. I deal with a combination of things that pretty much will make cottage cheese out about anybody's milk real quick. Some of the stuff that I've come across, you would not believe. I've got evidence of it, and it's getting ready to come about in terms of either adjudication or arrest or things of that nature, but it ain't quite yet. It's close. Ain't quite yet. It's getting closer every minute. But the fun part of this, as I see, it's going to take place on, Friday, because then we're going to know who is and who is not for the gun control measures by a foreign entity. And I'm wondering what might be done. Ron Paul got the thing passed. People like the idea of knowing where the money went. There's a little item called follow the money. Everybody likes to quote that thing. I found it several years ago online, and it was extraordinary. And it was very simple. And yet it also was very detailed. It showed exactly how to do what to who to find out where it went and who did it to whatever and all that. Anyway, I took that little piece of paper and I said, well, now this would be cool. I wonder if I can pull this off. And I lucked out and did. One of the senators who was particularly PO'd about being able to figure out what Bernanke and a few other people were doing with money, decided to take me up on my offer. He had his legal staff study the piece of paper and found out that the report called Follow the Money not only was accurate, but very concise in being able to be used and utilized. It's the same thing as knowing which end of a gun a bullet comes out of, or which end of the hammer to use to drive nails. That simple, that easy. Anybody with a computer can do it. And I thought that, well, wow, what a marvelous piece of stuff this will be. There's a thing called the Senate Financial Investigation Committee. It's part of the Senate Finance Committee. And this particular senator got obtuse with a couple of people that supposedly were supposed to know what was going on and said, I don't know. And you've heard that one before in testimony, I'm sure. I believe Eric Holder's been doing that. I don't know. I didn't hear about it till last week. Anyway, so the thing called Follow the Money, written by a PhD, was entered into the permanent research records of the Senate Finance Committee. And that I felt like I had won World War III and didn't have to push a button to do it. I was just ecstatic. I really finally accomplished something. This gave me the incentive to not really totally quit. This led to the things that led to the show we got. Now, I'm not throwing out anything that's extraordinary, but I'm going to add a couple little tidbits here. Everybody's heard about the LIBOR fun and games. I believe Lady Dragon mentioned Ireland bankers being arrested. Now, the LIBOR ringleader, that is something to look at. And Wall Street Journal says it's Thomas Hayes. Financial Times says the same thing about the rigging of the interest rates. Reuters, my goodness, same old, same old. Now, Reuters also says that the European Union and USA officials are getting ready to start snatching people over this. Hello, J.P. Morgan Chase. How is business today? Hello, Bank of America. I mean, you go down the line. Any and all of the big ones were involved, basically. UBS. I mean, name somebody, and they probably got dirty fingers. And I wanted to make sure that this was absolutely clear. They're looking at starting to arrest these people. Now, if they will arrest them, then it ain't too far away from being able to arrest the other crooks in terms of those who have acted illegally here in the United States. So they're supposed to be our representatives, and the only thing they represent is their own pocket. They laugh about whatever we do, thinking we're a joke. I don't think it's so funny to throw people out of their houses just because you can have fun with it. I don't think that it's cool that the government pays people off for evictions in terms of repossessing real estate. Foreclosures suck a big one. To get a government bonus for it, that ain't too cool. Then you can turn around and sell it for $20,000 and you've covered your butt. Why? You take the asset, whatever it is, whatever value it is, you write it down to zero. And then whatever you sell it for is profit. The companies recently reported better profits. Oh, that's nice and interesting. Does anybody notice that they also were the ones that laid off people? The biggest expense being people. You lay them off, the profit margin goes out of sight, at least for a little while. When the customer service and a few other things ain't there and their product doesn't seem to want to get out correctly, then that could end up causing problems. But another little tidbit, this should be coming in the next few days. A lot of people have heard me talk about the sweep as such, or house cleaning, coming down to about the governor level. And that's about the limit in terms of handling the extraordinary amount of individuals, let alone the arrests and all that stuff. So people wanted to know, what do I do? How do I go about getting to my local officials? Well, if you find out that they're clean, work with them. This includes the sheriff. This includes, all the good guys. If you find that they're funky and they're happen to be a federal agent, now that gets into a little bit of a swirly. A citizen's arrest might not be effective correctly or be able to be effected if you don't go about it right. So one of my contacts is formulating an affidavit form for arresting federal employees at the county level. I want everybody to think about that. Usually you have a coordinator of emergency management. That is usually also a dual office of Department of Homeland Security. Most people don't know that. The officer in that position, though, if they happen to be law enforcement, which sometimes they are, does have the option to resign the position so that they can then be clean as whatever their records show. This loosens the federal controls. Everybody's dealt with the EPA in one way or another, one time or another. All of the edicts of taking a SWAT team and raiding a small farm because they're selling raw milk, telling you that you got to have your car inspected for emissions, telling you that this is a neat one, telling you that global warming is caused by what we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, there's very little global warming that's involved with what we're doing on this planet. It would have less, according to the last report I had from a man who is one of the top researchers in the general sciences of ecology. It'd have lesser effect than 10%, if that. So what are you looking at? Well, very simply, and a lot of people know about this. It's called the 2012 alignment of the planets. As a planet moves around, its atmosphere, its temperature, its ice packs, and all kind of manner of things change, move around switch locations. I mean, we could have a nice place like, you know, that's real hot, like say, I don't know, Florida, turn into the center of the North Pole and ice up. Nobody really knows because they don't have records that go to the point of showing what happens. So that's kind of out there. But basically, the idea of global warming is not exactly the way it is presented. There's a lot of assumption. Now, some of the ideas in terms of the science do have validity. The idea that carbon clouds do hold heat is correct because it interacts with other chemicals and causes bondings that do reflect heat. Anyway, the basis of the show I want to concentrate on is treason, gun control, campaign changes that offer better background checks. I think that's a good idea. Find out who's who. And Romney's one of his major staff members, Andrea Saul, expressed that both her and Romney believe in vigorous enforcement of existing laws. Now, if every time a crook got snatched and he's got a gun, he does 2 to 10, pretty soon you're going to get rid of all those guys. Pretty soon it's not going to be cool to be carrying a piece with you. Pretty soon you're not going, you know, the idea of packing, unless you're legal, it ain't going to be there. Maybe when we get to that point, then some of us won't have to carry guns all the time. So that's basically what I had to run by everybody. I don't know if, Rick, you got anything to add to that, or Lady Dragon?
Whole issue. But of course,
Rick, you need to repeat because you had told me to keep you on hold, so they missed part of what you said.
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I can add a lot to the gun control thing, but folks, before I do that, I want to offer the ladies before gentlemen scenario. Lady Dragon, do you have anything?
Hi, Rick. Yeah, I have something to say about all of this. On Sunday, I was discussing Dubai, how awful the situation are there in Dubai, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what to do about Dubai and other places of that sort. Well, the first thing to do is not to support people that support Dubai, like celebrities and people that could live anywhere. I'll give you an example, like this gentleman, Roger Federer. He's from Switzerland. He's a very wealthy tennis player. And in all the places in the world, he decides to reside in Dubai. Well, when I saw this many years ago, I was like, what? This guy's supposed to be a good guy, a nice guy, and he helps support these type of regime. So, sorry, I would not buy a ticket to go see that guy. So this is how we can help. It's not supporting people that support that type of regime. Hey, Drake, you agree?
Absolutely, and I think that's a very good idea. It may be a little difficult to find out what products come from that area. It may be difficult as to to find out what services and who visits. But I think it can be done, and I would suggest all our readers take a look at this, or all our listeners, or all the people that would like to do something about it, and see whether or not we can't come up with some lists. Maybe Lady Dragon could put something up on her website, and I could throw something on mine, and maybe we could open up a can of worms that, here we go again, a government might not want to deal with. I love doing that. Go ahead, Lady Dragon.
Yeah, I always say you vote with your money. If you would come to my house, you can point at any object in my house. I know where it comes from. I always try to buy local in Montreal. If it's not Montreal, in Canada. If not Canada, U.S. You know what I'm saying. Same thing goes with encouraging and supporting actresses, celebrities. You know, there's a lot of celebrities that are out there, sports or movie or theater, whatever the thing may be, and they really use their free time to support the community and help organization. These are the people you want to support. These are the people you want to buy a ticket to go see at the movie or at the tennis game. But people of that sort, he could live anywhere and support this, I find. And then he goes there and spend the money. Who served him there? The poor people that are in dorms. And you're going to tell me he doesn't not know what's going on over there? Excuse me. He knows. They know. The people that go there know exactly what's going on, but he'd rather be served by slaves, and who cares, you know? I think if nobody would show up in this game, I think it would make him think, you know? Right?
That would be interesting to see. I'd like that one, yeah. That would really be interesting. Is that about everything you got, lady? Or you got more?
Yeah. Well, no, but for now it's fine. Dear Rick, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Rick.
Then.
Thank you, Lady Dragon.
Thank you, Lady Dragon. Yeah, folks, look, I agree with Greg completely on the enforce the laws on the books as far as criminal activity goes. However, we do have one other problem. Some of our Second Amendment rights have been restricted to the point to where people that, well, aren't criminals are more affected than what the criminals are. Here again, keeping the laws straight as far as criminal activity with firearms goes is of the utmost importance to avoid situations like in Colorado and, well, Columbine, other situations that we've heard of in our history that has actually helped the gun grabbers to try to grab guns. However, folks, we do have laws on the books that infringe tremendously upon our rights as citizens to be armed, to be able to protect ourselves, our families against these kind of people. And that has to be dealt with sooner or later. And I'm hoping that in due time, particularly after Friday, that we start to stress this issue as a people and push the government to oblige us with loosening up the restrictions on legal people that would never harm a soul with a firearm unless they had to out of protection of themselves. Friday marks a pretty important day. I was glad to hear Greg say that Fox seems to think that, well, this treaty isn't going to go nowhere. And you know, folks, in my mind, I believe that to be true. I believe that people's put enough pressure on senators and representatives out there on this issue that, well, there ain't no way that it'll ever be ratified. And that's a good thing. But bear in mind, folks, there's still folks out there in our political structure that is going to try to bring this around on a back door. And we need to be wary or real aware of that fact. That's why it's going to be real important to find a list of anybody that votes yes on this treaty bill. And we have to push for their arrest. This is a treasonous act, even if this bill doesn't pass. This is something that should have never even been brought before the United States people. That's the way it is. As Greg said, the UN has never behaved themselves, never. We were always meant to be one thing, they turned out to be another. So a tyrant is a tyrant, and here in America we're not going to deal with tyrants, period. But anyway, I want to stress that point. Look, let's push to knock back some of the restrictions on our gun rights. That's what I'm asking people to do. And, of course, you know me. Remember what that Second Amendment says. It's your right. I know some people try to convince you that that well-regulated militia part of it, well, that's the National Guard. Folks, if that was the case, then why is it your right? Why was that right enumerated? So you would know what it was. And I'd like to see more of these people start correcting people when they say that the Second Amendment's the right to bear arms, because that's just not really true fact. That's the diluted version that gun grabbers want you to believe, because they know that if you think that it's all about your guns in your closet, well, you're not going to take the responsibility and stand and join your militia and defend liberty and freedom. Another troubling thing I'd like to bring up tonight is the fact that even amongst us, we have people that claim to be patriots, but yet want to stomp on somebody's rights. That's a sad business to me, folks. And I had a certain situation that came up last night. I'm not going to say where. Certain conversation that popped up. It was on the religious side of the fence, where somebody believed that they had the right to burn somebody else's book of faith, and they do. I would fight for them to do that. But to take it a step further and to say that that person doesn't have the right to have that religion in the United States, wait a minute. For patriots, what about the First Amendment right that says freedom of religion? Not freedom of denomination, make no mistake. Our founders knew what denomination was. There was fighting and arguing about denomination all the time, even back then. They chose to say religion for a reason, because they knew that there was many religions out there. And as long as a religion was respectful, didn't stomp on somebody else's rights, well, there was nothing wrong with you believing in that. And folks, most religions out there do abide by them rules. They don't stomp on other people's rights. I want to remind people out there that these people, these hateful people in our government, have duped us so long and so hard that now even a patriot, somebody that calls himself a patriot, thinks that they should know where a person's rights are and where they're not, even if it goes against the very Bill of Rights that they say they stand for. It becomes an ideology to them. And believe me, people, that's what these politicians wanted us to do a long time ago. That's why they duped us a little bit down the line, is so we lose perspective of that. I really hope we all search our souls out there and really start to understand what freedom is, folks. Freedom is, it's grand. It's real vast and it's very grand. And it's along a basic rule. And that rule is a golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't stomp on somebody else's rights. If you don't believe the way they do, that's fine. But you ain't got to make it a hateful, divisive part of your life and try to deprive that person from, well, what they should be free to believe in. And, well, Greg, I'm going to kind of leave it right there for right now.
I think that's pretty much said everything needs to said on that subject. I've seen a lot of posting. I get a lot of information. And I've had some objections to some of the things I've posted. One of those was about Obama. This is recently. And today I posted in the on the Facebook page that what I posted, according to Snopes, was horse hockey. Well, being involved as I have been over the years, I have had involvement in several international incidents. And the problem I came across was when I reported that in an email to a couple of people, they said, that's BS. Snopes says such and such. I said, that's interesting. Because I was involved in it, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm not going to say Snopes is God and gospel and whatever rolled into one. I'm sorry, folks, but they don't quite make it. They put some political spin on a combination of both local, national, and international incidents that I was involved in directly. I participated directly in these things. And they put such a spin on it that if you were not personally involved, you couldn't tell which way was up. They screwed it up that bad. And I would love to have Snopes get their stuff straight, but they're like a lot of other people. At a certain point, and this is the problem with a, quote, organization specifically, this is the problem, quote, with a leader. Those entities, either a group, strict association, corporation, and or its leadership, can be gotten to. And the variety of different ways. Think of how you could get to somebody and make them behave the way you wanted them to. These people that we're fighting against don't care. They'll do anything. So use your imagination, and that'll give you an indication as to how and why these people do the things they do. Now, I've done enough research that I found out from different varying people who is commissioned by who writes who cuts their paycheck, what division of whatever they work for, and I ignore these people. They're so full of it, it hurts. Or they'll tell several part truths that come out to a general conclusion. Well, this is why some of the things that I say are taken issue with. I know. I'm not allowed to validate some of this simply because it'll endanger lives. And I'm not going to do that to the people that are good enough and courageous enough to stand up. I will give as much factual information as is possible, and I will do my very utmost best to make sure that it is correct. If it ain't, and you've already heard me say this, I made a mistake more than once, and I did not get the full information, which made the whole meaning of something change. And that has happened on a couple of occasions. It's not very often, but on a couple of occasions. I can give everybody a nice big glimmer of hope, and that is that legislatively, legally and lawfully, and by the will of the people, things are beginning to alter. The attitude of, well, you know, you ain't cool anymore, dude, come with me, is beginning to take precedent over, oh, he's just a good old boy, leave him alone, yeah, oh, he's part of the group, okay. The ignoring of somebody who has an accident while they're inebriated because they happen to be a senator or a congressman or some mucky muck or a police officer or whatever officiality would cover it, is beginning to quit covering it. They're beginning to arrest people. And this has started off and on, here and there, only by certain people. And when I heard the mayor of my hometown get a ticket for improper operation of his limousine, public transportation, by the way, but improper operation of his limousine, I just about creamed my jeans. I'm going to tell you, it was just ecstatic to find out that they had caught the dude. He wanted to drive. And so the driver had to be in the front seat anyway, or you couldn't have the thing out of the garage. So he's sitting in the seat next to him, and this dude is flooring it. He got busted for doing 80 mile an hour on a 25 mile an hour street. He got a ticket for DUI, and this stuff went to court, and he had to pay the piper. And I was just so overjoyed to find out that every once in a while you get one. It's sort of like Eric Holder being guilty of a whole bunch of problems now in terms of legalities he's going to have to deal with. I ain't heard much about it lately. We're going to have to bring this stuff up some more. we maybe need to become the squeaky wheel and say, guilty, guilty, guilty. Enough times, when you tell a lie enough, it becomes truth. If you tell the truth enough, well, at first you're ridiculed, and then people say, well, maybe, and then you start getting a little validation, and then they go, yeah, that is right, and you get results. It does take some time to do some of these things. However, we're coming up to a break point, and it deals with timing. Everybody probably knows about the Keenan lawsuits and liens and things of this nature. A lot of these things are beginning to get ready to come to fruition. In other words, it's called endgame. The crooks that have had these extraordinary powers on an economic basis are just about to lose their basis. The second thing that needs to be done, and this is already being talked about by our present representatives, clean or dirty, doesn't matter to me. If they're doing the right thing, that's cool. And that is, the banks are too big to exist as they are, so they're going to have to start breaking them up. Now, how are we going to go about that? Well, this Audit the Fed is going to help them. They're going to find out that they're going to find out who paid who off to do what. They're going to find out that there were undercover movements of large sums of cash nobody knew about. So you're going to find out that the legalities are going to begin to come to bear. Now, whether Friday is going to be a day of true D-Day, or the military starts saying, all right, everybody, let's go, or not, I have not been told. I think it would be a lovely, lovely way to make D-Day a reality. Now, D-Day was Normandy invasion, basically. Totally unfriggin' real. I had some people that in my family that were involved in that. I had people that were in the Philippine Islands fighting the Japanese. I served in Vietnam. So, well, my dad stood guard. He got special guard duty on a plane called the Enola Gay. Do you remember that little thing about the atomics? Well, then I did some research and found out that Japan had offered to surrender long before we dropped either one of those bombs. Not necessary. But if you want to make a point, you sort of ignore the official communication that, oh, hey, I want to give up. See the white flag? No, I don't see no white flag. Your stuff's light. Watch this. As far as I know to date, the United States is the only one who has ever used nuclear weapons against an enemy. We are among several nations populated by our ancestors who, when they came over, were not necessarily the greatest human beings on the planet. By that I mean they emptied a lot of prisons and whatnot and got rid of some of the real nasties and sent them over here. That was part of the beginning. There were a lot of decent folks that came over too. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't all crooks. But they commenced to continue to bring people over here, and when they did, they brought a combination of the dregs of society, along with a variety of different people with trade knowledge, capability for survival, things of that nature. Eventually, we decided we were big and bad, and we didn't need to listen to the Indians anymore. And these are the people that welcomed us in. These are the people that fed us when we ran out of food because we were too stupid to know how to get it or grow it. And not only did we negate them, we stomped them out pretty much. We put them on reservations. We did things to those people, and some of it is still happening today. It goes on in Canada. It goes on here. It goes on in South America. Those with guns use these people for target practice. Just because they can shoot one, hey, that one's running fast, see if we can hit him. This is unconscionable, but it's happening. This is where the idea of the golden rule, this is where the idea that you might want to be nice to somebody because they might teach you how to feed yourself or maybe provide the food necessary so you don't starve to death comes in. simple considerations of that nature foster you to think. And the idea of thinking gets you to where you need to go. The understanding of knowledge, having knowledge, and being able to use it all at the same time is a wonderful feeling. Finding out where you can do certain things that adjust something so that things happen the right way. There's almost no better feeling other than riding a roller coaster or a motorcycle that you can get that kind of thrill out of stuff. Life in general, it can be slow. You can watch the grass grow or the paint dry or whatever, float your boat. You can be a high-speed executive or salesperson or involved in corporations and that sort of thing if you wish. It doesn't really matter. What matters is this. If the individuals in this country wish to stay individuals and not be treated like the secret agent man, where they've given you a number and taken away your name, and Auschwitz and places like that, and other places of that nature stamped tattooed a number on the arm. People talk about 666 being tattooed on your forehead. Well, they got a microchip instead. It's a lot easier to put in, all these things, all of the things that might be nasty, they're possible. Unless we decide to get up off the couch and stand up and say, I don't think so, man. You need to take that BS and go down the road with it. And at that point, then you realize I just exercised my right to be free of interference in my lifestyle, so long as I'm not hurting anybody or damaging somebody else's property. I can play my own game any way I feel, any way it seems right. Denise? See if I praise the dead.
Yes, Greg.
There she be. I knew she was hidden there somewhere.
I just unmuted.
I'm just curious if everybody'd like to take a break.
Yeah, I was going to say we're about 10 minutes beyond 1/3 of the way through the program. Questions are piling up. We got a lot of questions to answer, and I thought maybe a 5-minute break or so would be in order.
Okay, now I'd like to run the rocket docket. I'm going to give short answers. They're going to be concise. I'm not going to include all the information. Most of it's posted on the website. So visit the website, read all them pages, and you'll find out all this stuff that you have concerns about.
Okay, all right. With that, we're going to take about a 6-minute break, and everybody freshen up, and we'll be back in 6 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had plenty of time for a break and are ready to roll. You ready?
You ready? Great.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. I'm going to start. And by the way, I wanted to let our callers know. And I'm echoing myself. I wonder why I'm echoing. Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody must have had me on their speaker. Can everybody hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, good. Echo stop. Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, it was hard hearing my voice back at myself. Okay, I'm going to start with questions from email and chat room, and let's see. Okay, my question is, are any interruptions expected in airline services if something goes down this week regarding arrests? My sweetheart is backpacking in the Idaho mountains and completely out of cell phone range, and our news sources, and I'm concerned that he may not be able to get back home to me should things commence. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The overall plan is not to interrupt services in general. That would include airline travel, phone service, internet service within the United States. There will be a short period of time where there will be a lockdown, and that means no communications, to include satellite, outside the country, no travel, etc. People will not be allowed in or out for whatever time it takes for this to be completed. Now, they may not have to do that. That depends on what the situation is at the time. And I've mentioned this before. The plan is fluid, and each incident is being acted upon as a special individual operation. So that basically puts you in the situation of you shouldn't have a problem traveling in the States. Everything should be basically the same. Most of the utilities will not be interrupted. There may be a couple of these because we can't watch everybody, but expect things to sort of basically be normal other than international communications and travel.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next question. All right, and these may not be in order or anything. These are just kind of coming out of, in disarray here. In reference to drought in over 70% of the United States, probably related to the cabal, if so, what can be done to help farmers, ranchers, animals, and food prices in the end days coming soon? Assume that this is the cabal's last gasp at trying to destroy us.
That's going to be pretty interesting. First of all, we have not had what you would call true agriculture here in this country in a long time. What I mean by that is you have most of your agricultural concerns going for the money, whatever crop that is. If it's short on one particular kind, they have a tendency to raise that on a small basis. Thus, that particular individual can profit greatest. This is also the manner in which most of your large ag companies operate. Now, two problems. One is they only seem to raise one, maybe two types of crops, and the other one is that with most farming right now, you have an extraordinary use of chemicals that are not good for anything, let alone us. So, in that light, the drought is going to have an effect. It should not be extraordinary. Now, by that I mean that we've been operating for quite some time, in case people didn't know that, primarily on import. Now, in some areas, the local producer can produce enough to supply what's necessary. So that may be the situation people find themselves in. You can look around and find places that have what are called self-pick or organic or things of this nature, where you can actually get enough raw produce to can your own, lay something up if you dry it. There's a lot of different ways to go about that. So I don't see it as a major problem, although the expense might change a little bit here in the near future. That's what they're already calling for. Next. Okay.
All right. I was reading this thing about Hillary signing that gun control thing on Friday. Does that mean that it will be international law and that we as the people cannot get rid of it since they will wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. That it will be international law that we as a people can get rid of since they will be gone? I guess I would ask if the Second Amendment will be trashed like they have been trashing all the rest. And is there a difference in what and how we can handle all of that?
Basically, it all boils down to replacing the government we got because it's messed up and corrupt. The other part of it is that Ms. Clinton, in my opinion, needs to be put away for high crimes and treason. She is the one that authored the Small Arms Treaty. She also helped write the Global Constitution. These are a combination of both corporate and governmental actions that are outside of the laws and constitutionality that we have in this country. So that's my take on it.
Okay. Quick question. If the gun control is voted in on Friday, arrests would likely be started. But what if it is voted out? Then what happens? The arrests still need to be done, obviously, so we don't understand where do we go from there.
Pick those that voted for it and go after them hot and heavy, much as you can. Do it legally. Try to do it in the manner that I've described so that you don't have problems yourself. As I said, I'm working with a group of individuals presently. They are nationwide, and we will soon have affidavit forms that will allow for the individual arrests. These should be filled out by an individual, taken to the sheriff, or filled out at the sheriff's office, doesn't matter which. The sheriff and or you or someone else needs to stipulate a person who's clean in terms of FBI or federal marshal, and most of them are. By clean, I mean somebody that upholds the Constitution, and you should be able to proceed rather rapidly from there.
Okay. All right. Do you consider, I think this one's been answered and we covered it a little bit earlier, but do you consider the Aurora, Colorado shooter to be a Manchurian candidate?
Absolutely. If you watch the boy in court, you'll see that he's nodding off from, I don't know if it's heroin or Oxycontin or some other kind of something that they shot him up with, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you that the guy is brilliant. He was working in hyperdimensional physics, and that is not an easy area to work in. I have worked in it. Now, the other part of this is that the disarray of a combination of the equipment location, the fact that I've got pictures of the gun that did not have a 100-round drum magazine in it, and if you have the little problems that come along with this, the boy's dressed in tennis shoes. What happened to the combat boots he was supposed to be wearing? It's just, it's too extraordinary in terms of some sort of chain of evidence and the things presented not to be some kind of phony deal. Now, I'm going to suggest, and this is a strong suggestion, it specifically goes to everybody who does not have a firearm. I'm going to suggest that you not only get one, but you take a course in firearm safety, and you apply for a concealed carry permit. If someone had been in that theater carrying a gun, whether the company that runs the theater likes it or not, you hide the sucker under your coat or whatever you got to do in order to be safe, and if someone had been there, he might have got off 3-4 shots before somebody took him out. Now, I'm going to suggest it was someone else. There's too many funny things with that whole deal. So, there you go.
Okay, let's see. Next question. All right, I don't know if this person might be a member of the Oath Keepers or not, but the question is, would Drake sanction and or promote a 1 million man and woman march on Washington, D.C.? Because, like, if we got all the patriot groups such as Occupy, Alex Jones groups, David Wilcox fans, Natural News, and they said that they would attempt to have the Oath Keepers attend.
Well, that would be great. Why don't we bring Glenn back and add another 8 to 20,000 to it and really clog things up? Now, I'm going to make a suggestion. If somebody really can do or put something like this together, I'm going to suggest that we practice the old-fashioned art of protest. Now, there are several things that can be done in this that don't really hurt anybody but really screw things up. One of those is to have 4 flat tires in the middle of a bridge on both directions at the same time, and then have somebody run out of gas right there behind them. You can turn the lights off in a building. That sort of has a tendency to bring everybody out that has an office simply because it's just like a closed-up car in the sunlight. It starts incubating, and believe me, it will shed a whole load of office workers. There's a whole lot of different things that can be done that does not, as I said again, really hurt anybody. Now, a lot of people are going to be stuck in some cases because the elevators are not on separate power in some cases. It might be that if you turn the AC off and leave everything else run, that would do it. There's varying things you have to consider there. As far as someone trying to remove you physically, I'm going to make the suggestion that you go limp, totally limp. And the reason I state that is that when you do so, and somebody's got a hold of you, you just about double your body weight as far as they're concerned. And that makes it, and then they're going to have 2 cops to move you around if that's what they're doing. Protest. Make it absolutely silent. Don't say a word, no songs, no nothing, just bodies everywhere. And when you all get to the point where you got everything pretty much covered, sit down. Anybody wants to come get you and they actually get a hold of you, like I said, go limp. And then they got to have help It's just that simple. You get 1 million men, you get 2 million, you get, whatever. Anybody that takes issue with what Washington's been doing can participate. And that's my answer.
Okay. Okay, Drake, what are your military contacts and the general overall consensus of the military about this possible gun control? And would they be starting the mass arrest after or before they take our guns away?
Well, first of all, I don't think they're going to take our guns away. Number two, I don't think that thing's going to be passed. Number three, the military is of the considered opinion that they want to make sure of what they're doing in terms of snatching people or arresting them or taking them into custody even for their own protection. And so you may see a lot of, how can I say this, individual arrests first. And by a lot, I mean maybe 1 or 2 a day in the continental United States for varying reasons. I will tell you that this should be primarily a combination of finance and corruption. You're going to have RICO statutes come into this where these guys are obviously some kind of gangster or operating in that manner, and those sorts of charges will be preferred. Some people, and there's a few of them, can be right now charged with treason. And I'm talking about a bona fide legal charge of treason that will stick. The public record shows what they've done, and that which is contrary to the Constitution and the well-being of the people is called treason. So, as this progresses, you're going to see a whole bunch of different things. You're going to see a combination of both civilian and military, local law enforcement, federal agencies such as the FBI and the federal marshals. You may even see Department of Homeland Security assisting us. Well, no, I ain't the Homeland Security no more, but I got the keys. Come on over here, man. You need some food and water. Let's go. That sort of thing. You're liable to find a lot of people who have been forced into positions they don't like to be in and might be able to assist us at a time when we need it. So, you figure from there.
Okay. Thank you, Drake. Okay.
I add something to that real quick.
Sure, Minuteman.
Look, folks, I keep hearing this stuff when they take our guns. I want to remind everybody, they can't have what you will not let them have. It's that simple. So, as far as I'm concerned, they're never going to take my guns. And I hope we get more people in there with that mentality.
I hope so, too. Okay. All right, Drake.
Yes.
If the arms treaty is not passed, if it is signed, does it become law under the Vienna Convention?
No. Only those countries that agree to it will it become a law to. Without the following of the United States, it's going to be pretty much a hollow law in terms of the treaty agreement agreed upon. There's 2 aspects of this. You have what's called a UN mandate, which basically is taken by sheer numbers. When a majority agrees to X, then it becomes a mandate. That mandate has been issued on several occasions. Some people do have veto authority, the United States and a few others. In cases where they probably should have exercised that, they did not. One of the UN mandates states that, according to the vote, and no veto, water is not a human right. Now, I want you to think about that if you're thirsty. You do not have any say in what type of food you may grow. In other words, if they take an issue with your yard, say you decorate it with edible items, they can come in and take them, and that's been in the news recently. The other part of this is that As you know, co-ops, food co-ops, have been raided for a variety of reasons. You don't make the health code. Who died and made the health code? God. Who was it that made the EPA? Who gave the EPA the right to show up with a SWAT team when somebody's selling raw milk and they disagree with it? Where do they get off this? I tell you where. They think that they are above the law. And I've stipulated this a couple of times. Nobody is above the law, period. Now, that law has to be something that is by and for the people, not for the banks, not for the oligarchs, not for the government to hide behind, but for the people. And that's something everybody needs to get through their heads. It's not an easy ideology because they've had this drummed into them for about 50, 60 years now that you ain't squatting if you ain't got a driver's license. We're taking you to jail or whatever.
Okay.
This is something that has to be understood and understood in its minutest form. And I'm going to give you an example real quick, and this I know is a long answer, but UN Agenda 21 contains within it a thing called the International Property Maintenance Code. And several states have adopted this, where they can come tell you your grass is too tall and fine you heavy each day that you don't get it cut to their specifications. If you got one plant growing and they say that's a noxious weed, the only way you can dispute that, and it might be a $25,000 fine for a dandelion, okay? That's how ridiculous this is. But the only people that you can address this to are the same people that make the rules anyway. You can't, supposedly you can't sue them. Supposedly you can't take them to a court. Supposedly they are, according to the structure, above the law. I don't think so, and that is coming up to be changed. I think people do not like the idea of having somebody tell them that they gotta. And that can be your yard, that can be your house. You have codes. Well, codes, I hate to tell everybody, are regulations. It ain't got diddly squat to do with real law. And regulations are your drinking water's got to have so much purity. Well, I can understand the idea of making sure you got purity in your drinking water, but the question I got is, what are they doing putting an industrial waste product from the manufacturer of aluminum known as fluoride, which eats concrete, in your drinking water? You lose up to 20 points off your IQ. You get stupid when you drink water. They put it in your toothpaste because it's supposed to be good for your teeth, but it'll dissolve concrete. Come on now. I mean, big pharma and doctors kill more people than any other form of death. I wonder why that is. The medical procedures are known. It has to be, or something of that nature. It has to be something, say a side effect, causes your butthole to fall out, or whatever it might be, however strange you want to get. If you listen to some of the ads on TV, they might list 20, 25 different things that are just like my family raised me when I was a kid. The cure is worse than the disease. I'm sure people have heard that. So these are the things we got to go up against and what we have to change, and that's the answer.
Okay. There have been two recent articles that came out in London, one blaming Al-Qaeda for hijacking planes and one blaming Iran. What do you expect that Obama will do if they have, or will they have a massive false flag like that?
Well, first of all, Al-Qaeda don't exist. That's a manufactured thing of the CIA, convenience, that sort of deal. Secondly, terrorists are usually paid, not made. Few, and I mean a very few, are what you would call extremist nutcases. Now, everybody's got some of those. I got a few in my family that would just soon shoot you as look at you if you ain't related. Really strange stuff. The false flag, most of the items that dealt with that have been removed that were large and dangerous. There may be some small ones, I mean, we just had one in Colorado as an example, something small of that nature. And believe me, I am not negating the importance and impact to the individuals involved in that. What I'm saying is that's small potatoes compared to a stadium full of people or something of this nature. Okay, the large stuff that would be able to do that has been pretty much taken care of. And that's something everybody needs to be aware of. But we still do have nutcases out there who will try whatever they can figure out in order to cause problems, which would be chaos, start a riot. How would you start a race war? You take a pickup truck full of white folks and you go down to the black area and start hollering nasty things and throwing burning crosses out of the back of the truck and fire bombs and cursing and speed off into the night. That's one way, as an example. And it's been proven over and over again that these people are paid to do these things. I think they're pretty funky for having to have money that bad, but they may be an addict, and you don't know what their situation is. It may be that they got a medical bill. If they don't pay it, mom dies because they're going to turn her machine off. Or it could just simply be that they're going to torture your kids in front of you, and you get the privilege to watch. These people are not nice, and they have forced people into boxes, into situations that are, to me, extraordinary. It's I've been in combat, and I'll tell you, some of the stuff I saw there was pretty awesome in terms of destructivity, what metal does to flesh, depending on how it hits it. And these people think that sort of thing is entertaining. So there you go.
Okay, Drake, you mentioned California's CAFR shows it has billions squirreled away. Every level of government does that, including universities, school districts, hospitals, city parks. Will we be working with Walter Burien to straighten this out? Also, will Walter's tax retirement system be implemented, which gets rid of most of the need for taxes?
Okay, I would suggest that the man's work on CAFR is excellent because each and every last state's got that, as everybody should know. And those things need to be settled up. They need to kick out the funding so that the small communities can function correctly. That means you don't go charging Granny to mow her grass because the grass is too tall and it violates a city code. There you go with the regulations, okay, or whatever. Somebody needs something, they can take care of it. The parks stay open. The libraries stay open. The schools can stay open. Now, what has transpired is that they accumulate these large funds, and this is specifically true of colleges, education in general, but mostly colleges. They accrue what's called operating funds. It's a combination of grant and other things, but what they do is they never use that money. It is kept and they operate off the interest. Now, nobody ever really says where the interest goes, but it's there anyway. So they need to start spending according to what the reality of the situation is. You got a lot of people out there right now having trouble with getting student loans. Well, why is that? Well, because the government guarantees it. Well, the government should not necessarily guarantee the student loans. They should guarantee that the person is able to pay it back by offering an economic climate that causes jobs. Then you don't have to worry about it. And you can hold these people responsible for a direct loan if you really decided to take that stand. The other part of it is that scholarships, you got a tuition rate that's unbelievable. It's more than most average lower income people make in a year. Just to be there. Then you got housing. You go ahead and all this stuff up, and the college student's going to have to work 20-hour days to attend class and be able to eat. And there's something wrong with that. Now, I'm not saying everybody and their mother-in-law needs a college education. A lot of people have dropped out of college because the college educations ain't worth squat when they get out and they owe all this money for attending college. And they were astute enough to realize this and stop before they got too deep in some cases. In a lot of cases, you've got student loans out there that need to be addressed. Now, there are ways to address that. And one of the ways is if the person does not make a sufficient income to pay the loan, they might be able to offer public service in exchange for the cost of the loan. These sorts of things are simple ideas that can change the whole face of what's going on. But, yeah, you got CAFR, you got all this. Now, as far as taxes, I would rather go with NESARA than any other person's particular plan. And as I understand, that's sort of parallel with what was being mentioned. The idea of NESARA, though, contains a sales tax that's extreme. I don't think a direct sales tax, other than the one that's offered through localities, should be made. And I discussed this with one of the people that is tasked with trying to help us restructure the legalities of how the government is in terms of its operation. And we decided that the idea of the four-letter word tax was a no-no. And the idea of a tax, especially, they're talking 21%. That's extraordinary in my opinion. So you make it into user fees like toll roads, things of that nature. And that takes care of the problem. So go from there.
All right, Drake, let's see. Next question. You need a break? Okay,
I'm just thinking that it would be nice.
Let's see what we got about. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Drake.
It would be nice to be able to go through a rocket docket, but people are asking questions that if I don't get a decent answer to, then that just raises more questions. Exactly,
and you're doing an excellent job, Drake. And hey, the listeners are doing a great job. They're asking some hard questions, but that's a good thing. So, okay. And again, if we do not get to you, if we miss you on the calls, or we don't get to your question that was in the chat room today, our email address is onefreepeople@gmail.com, and we're constantly answering questions as often as possible in the Facebook, so those options are available to you too. And I apologize if there just isn't enough time to get everybody in. But let's go. Let's see. Okay, Drake said we have to push for arrests from the vote, like if they vote for the UN treaty. How exactly do we push, or do we as people start enforcing this?
Well, that's part of the information posted on the website that states how to perform a citizen's arrest. This also goes with the combinational understanding that you need a federal officer so that transport of that individual is not considered kidnapping. The other part of it is that you involve local law enforcement in that area. When you do these things, okay, and as I said, I'm working with several people right now that are looking into forming an affidavit that will allow for the arrests of individuals that have violated the Constitution, among other things, both federal and state, local, doesn't matter. As soon as we get those completed, and this man's checking with a combination of constitutional lawyers and professors, as well as the FBI and federal marshals, so that this will be correct and can be executable. We should have that done here in the next day or so. And as soon as I get it, it will be on the website, and it'll go out to everybody that subscribes. Now, if you want the news as it comes up, I suggest you subscribe. That's AmericanNationalMilitia.com. It's not complicated. There's a little thingy when you get on that page on the right side, a little box. You stick your email address in there, and when we post something that goes out, you get a copy. So that should hopefully take care of that. Next.
And that's something I need to resolve, because we've had 2 or 3 of your users, only 2 or 3, that have consistently said that they've subscribed, but they do not get the messages. So I'm going to have to, I will be addressing that. I'm trying to get to the root cause of that problem. Okay, let's see. The next question is, Well, it's kind of a comment question. Okay, we heard Drake say that he made a mistake about the Obama and the flag thing. Will Drake be sending out another email admitting that he was wrong, since some may not be on here and listening to him?
No, I didn't make a mistake on that. I said that I have made mistakes. And as soon as I find out that I have done or made something, whether it's a statement or a posting that's incorrect, I tell you I made a mistake and I correct it. Now, that posting is correct. I don't care who don't like it. It was a recording. You understand that? A recording. This was not hearsay. This was a recording. I can't emphasize that enough. I used to have a copy of it. That computer burned up, or I'd still have a copy of it, believe me. The problem is that Snopes is God and says, ooh, that ain't right. Well, I'm sorry, Snopes, but your stuff's light. And the reason I say Snopes is light is because I've been involved in incidents that they have screwed up so badly that if you weren't there just about, you couldn't tell what went on. You did not know which way it was supposed to go. You did not understand what happened. If Snopes is willing and able and capable of doing that, then anything is fair game. Whether Snopes likes it or not, it was a recording, Snopes. So, you know, Snopes can stick it as far as I'm concerned. It is correct. Now, there's a lot of things Obama's done that I disagree with. There's also a lot of situations that I know about that he was put in that nobody should have been put in, and he acted accordingly, and those appeared to be nasty. However, the outcome of it was not too bad, actually. Now, that ain't saying he's a good guy. I'm going to tell you right now, he's a bad guy. He issued a bunch of executive orders, one of which declared an emergency. The reason for that was to declare martial law. Anybody don't understand that or don't like it, look it up. Seriously, look it up. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Next question, Drake, is, and we've got three more little quick questions, and then we're going to start taking our callers. Thank you for your patience, callers. Drake has said previously that the ETs can't intercede until we make a move to arrest. Yet he also said that the ETs interceded to stop nukes from firing, guns not firing, tanks not starting up. Isn't this a contradiction?
No, not actually. What it is what they can do and what they're allowed to do. One of the premises, somebody just blowed something up. Okay, they're shooting guns again. The premise of the premise. Damn, I lost the question.
Oh, okay. Let me repeat
the question again.
Okay. Drake said that ETs can't intercede.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Now, when I hear gunfire, it has a tendency to unsettle me. Okay. ETs can interfere if it's not direct interference, and it's not something that is adverse to the preservation of both our lives and the planet. This, then, if you look at that in that way, you'll find that our lives, the condition of our planet, and things like that are taken into consideration according to these actions. Nuclear war is a no-no. That does totally screw things up for long periods. Therefore, that ain't going to happen. The idea of making sure things stay peaceful, in other words, somebody does not artificially create a situation where it looks like a war or false flag or whatever you want to call it, is under their capability to interfere with, such as guns not firing, tanks not starting, and all that sort of thing. So they are not allowed to come down, meet and greet, and actually start putting out information and higher technologies and things of that nature until after we start cleaning up our own nest. This is part of the reason for the effort that I'm making, so that we can be timely in what we accomplish. Now, timely means by the mid-spring of 2013. I want everybody to understand that. So, you know, bear those items in mind, and you can go from there, and you'll be pretty accurate. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Drake. Today, Alex Jones was quite emotional about everything. He also said we need to stand up and say no. Is there any way Drake couldn't get with Alex and get on his radio show for greater coverage?
I've been trying to talk to Alex for some time, and so far I have not been successful. I've sent him emails and everything else. And to be quite frank, I wouldn't mind being on his show. I'd like to do a simulcast, my show and his. And I don't think that would be something extraordinary. I think that we could probably, between the two of us, I think Alex and I could have a heck of a good time roasting politicians or whatever else might come up.
Yeah, and probably get a lot of questions answered.
Exactly. No, so if any readers out there have direct contact with Alex, tell him to get in touch with us. And we'll go from...
Yeah, I'll admit I'm no Alex Jones. I don't give a good interview. But anyway, yeah, that would be great if anybody has a way for us to get a hold of him. Okay, let's see. We have two more questions, and then we're taking our callers. Question for Drake. Why doesn't the cabal just spray us all with their biological weapons and take us all out in a flash? Why haven't they done that?
Several reasons. One is that the airplanes won't fly if they put that stuff on board. Remember, ET does have a little problem with allowing things to work the way they are supposed to when they, go to start the machine up that carries a big weapon like a tank. It don't start. Well, the airplane won't start. Somebody will drop some, and the biological agent will get all over them. Think of something. I mean, getting it caught in your zipper when you're trying to get ready to go to work, or any kind of interference of that nature that can stop that is allowed. So they'd like to, believe me. The problem with that is that a lot of their underground facilities have been totally screwed up by ETs. And by totally screwed up, I mean they're stripped of everything, plumbing, wiring, the whole 9 yards. All they got is bare walls. And it's kind of difficult to survive under those conditions underground. So they don't got no place to run to right now. And they're not allowed to leave the planet either. So they're kind of stuck, and they don't want to screw themselves at the same time they try to get rid of us. And that's why they have not done that yet.
Okay, one last question from email and chat room, and that is, well, actually it's more of a statement. A caller onto another radio show today said that they saw at least 250 military in APCs with nighttime lighting mounted on them. There were many traffic cones. It looked as if they might be implementing a checkpoint of some kind, and they were seen headed southbound on I-84 in Virginia. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I hear things from varying people. I've got some people out there that are professional travelers that keep an eye and ear on things. What you got to understand is that some of the necessary equipment of that nature will be used to make sure that the wrong kind of troops do not enter our country. In other words, it'd be a big surprise in the middle of the night if there was 20,000 people from someplace that you don't speak the language of showing up, dragging people out of their houses and burning their house down, better known as an invasion. A lot of these things can be thwarted by ET, but it gives the military something to do, first of all, and secondly, it takes a lot of the nervous energy out of the problems. Now, the military was extraordinarily nervous about all of the gun rights and all this stuff that's been going on. They're still a little nervous about the militias. They're not absolutely sure that the militias might not go off half-cocked and shoot somebody at the wrong time. So they're still a little bit nervous. Now, you're going to find these things. You're going to find troop movements, as I said before. Now, they may be putting themselves in a position where they can run a checkpoint. You don't even know they're there. And they can see what's going on with the night division and spot the limousines of the people trying to escape so that they can be snatched, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of different things this could be. So, bear that in mind. Next.
Okay, Drake, Dan Dieter has a question for you, and then we're going to take our call. And Dan, please turn your volume down on your computer because we're getting feedback.
Bringing it down, bringing it down. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, Drake, quick question. I really appreciate your emphasis and attention on the gun control bill. And it looks like, as you said, it's not going to pass. But one that, and this, I really can't believe the audacity of this gentleman. Harry Reid says, even though we had a very strong favorable vote for auditing the Fed in the House, Harry Reid says, he doesn't even think it's going to make it to a vote in the Senate. And my question is why does he have the audacity to say that, and how can he accomplish that, and what can we do to stop it?
You could start by arresting him. I know that sounds extreme, but the boy is treasonous and has been for years. Number two, he is the majority speaker, meaning that the majority is of his party in the Senate, and he will call on the party loyalty, party line vote, in order to try to make sure that that bill does not go anywhere. The problem is that it will expose all of the payouts, payoffs, bribes, etc., to all of the elected officials, and this is why they are scared to death of this thing. Now, they knew that it would probably pass in the House. If there's any way to do so, they're going to try to do anything possible, and I mean anything at all, to make sure that it doesn't even come up for a vote. That's part of what Harry Reid said in his statement that I have posted on my website. My suggestion is that Harry Reid needs to be taken down. He is just like Henry Kissinger, a treasonous thing that should not be running loose. The same goes for Hillary Clinton and a bunch of other ones. These people are dead set on the destruction of our country, and they are adamantly and openly opposed to the Constitution and founding documents of this country and the betterment of our citizens. They want to take us apart. So he's got a lot of audacity, I'll agree. He's been that way for years. My suggestion, as I stated a minute ago, I would suggest the first thing to do would be to arrest certain people, he being one of them. Okay.
Do you think there's a specific, if we got, a whole bunch of trying to embarrass and all those that support or any mechanism they use to forestall a vote? Because the best thing in the world would be to have a vote where we could actually put names to people who, and those people who voted not to have the audit obviously have something that somebody's paying them off. It would be an absolute classic that we could go after individuals. So is there any way we can force it to a vote? Is there anything that, people like ourselves could actually force it, given that we're not successful arresting Harry Reid, which seems like it might be a pretty big task?
Okay. Everybody's got phone numbers of senators. Everybody has Washington, D.C. telephone numbers. Everybody has email addresses for not only the individuals but the Senate. A person who might have a little bit of cash laying around and they would like to get involved could pay for a legal action against these people in order to explain to them that they're acting unconstitutionally by refusing to vote on something that will help clean house or show the fraud at a federal level, among other things. So there's a lot of different ways that it could be taken up. People could simply visit the guy's house in the evening, say several thousand, just show up and stand there and stare at his house. I guarantee you talk about unnerving somebody, that definitely works. So, pick something and, you can run with all of them. Okay?
I wish we could find an attorney that would take it on contingency, because there's a clear violation here. I mean, number one, the Fed was created illegally under a scam. And I mean, a lawsuit could go so far in exposing everything if we're not able to get a vote. And it would be great to have one attorney or a group of attorneys in this country that'd be willing to stand up and do that on a contingency.
Well, that would be a part, and only a part of the answer. The true answer is going to come through the Neil Keenan cases and liens that have been placed against the Federal Reserve, because that takes their bank accounts. That takes their power on a financial basis where if you don't got the money to hire the thug, he ain't going to go do what you want him to do. If you do not have the pull of being able to call somebody's mortgage or whatever other nice little things they might decide to do, then you actually take a majority of those powers that they've exercised since the 1700s against us away from them. Once that's accomplished, then you're looking at them having some really serious problems of even having an office to go to, because once the financial power goes, the Fed is the money machine, one of them. There's two, there's actually three. But it's one of the major money machines for the incorporated government. In other words, the Fed can disappear almost totally and not really affect our lives a whole lot. So this is something that needs to be remembered. Mr. Keenan is not sitting on it. He's not waiting in terms of a la-di-da attitude or cavalier take on things. He's dead serious. These people have threatened him. They've threatened me. None of us like it very much. So consequently, I post things on the internet that makes them invest in stock from Tums and things of that nature. Neil is taking a legalistic standpoint where they don't have very much longer to exist. This is why this vote is coming up so soon. This is why those who now are in a position to try to exert the authority they once had will have to come out in the open to defend the good old boy routine of business as usual, which is what Harry Reid is saying. He's saying the bankers are just fine the way they are. Don't matter if they're stealing from everybody. We're getting our payoffs. What's wrong with you people? This is the statement he made. He exposed himself as being one of the cabal. Very simple.
Well, it's a blatant admission that they're in control and basically F you guys. It just blows me away that something so obviously, and it looks like a lot of the people in the House have got a conscience, and we get to the Senate and he figures, I'm going to ramrod this thing where we don't even vote on it. I mean, what kind of government do we have?
One it's a corporation. It is a business for profit, and we are its subjects according to its legal structure, and all of that has to be changed. Part of the way you do that is to remove the financial structure from underneath it. Now, a three-legged stool has trouble when you take one of the legs off of it standing up. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people have been educated either through this website and a whole load of other people that I have to give credit to. There's probably a list of 100 names or more who have been critical in terms of what I'm doing. And then you got the military kind of waiting in the wings for the, final scenario. And I'm not real sure exactly what that takes, whether they're waiting on Keenan's lawsuit to take the power, or if they're waiting to see that the people are going to stand up. Pick one. I'd like to see action sooner than that, but that ain't my call. Okay?
Yes. To me, this strikes to the heart. The Ron Paul bill strikes to the heart of what is troubling this country. And if we can get a vote called on this, then we really have a basis for going after a whole bunch of people really quickly.
That's why I advocate everybody that can hear my voice and anybody that's got a blog to send out get the phone numbers and the email addresses, send them out, and everybody and their mother-in-law start telling these people that, yeah, we want to know where our money went. It's our tax money. You're taking it out of my pocket. That's that Uncle Sam reaching down in your pants kind of thing. And what we need to do is we would like to at least know, we'd like to see a concise financial report of the whole thing. Then you know who is and who is not dirty, who's gotten bribes for what. They paid $3,000 apiece for this vote or whatever was going on. And this is what scares them so badly. That makes them guilty of negligence, breach of oath of office, violation of the public trust, and a whole load of RICO statutes. You know, you can pick something if need be. Now, I would suggest the people in the House who voted for this are at least awake enough and aware enough that the people have had enough, and it's time to start correcting the problems. Now, the Senate, in my opinion, you got Harry Reid, and I think he's going to end up standing sort of alone in this. That's my hope, because there were a lot of Democrats in the House that voted for this. So that tells me that the same thing can happen in the Senate, and I would love to see that thing passed. Then, when Obama goes, oh, no, you don't, okay, then we override that veto. Then you've got something done. And yet you're talking into the year, you're talking about them they're looking at taking a sabbatical, a break, or whatever you want to call it, in September. Maybe we ought to have a permanent emergency session until such time as they rectify it. I mean, there's a lot of ways around the fun and games they're playing. So I'm leaving it up to the people. I'm only one voice. I try to be as correct, and I try to use as easy a manner of linguistics in terms of words and understandings as I can, so that anybody of any educational background, no matter who it is, can get in on the party. And I'd suggest we have a party. Let's call Harry Reid. Let's call the Senate. Let's get a hold of everybody and say, hey, we want this to go through because we want to see the financial report as to where my money went. If somebody's been stealing it, I want to know who it was, and go from there.
Okay, Denise, you got some more callers. Thank you so much, Drake. That kind of got my blood flowing in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Okay,
Drake,
yes, callers.
Excuse me, Denise.
Go ahead, Lady Dragon.
Drake, could you take a little moment to explain to the people that are not familiar with your bill system, how long does it take usually from when a bill passed in the House to go in the Senate, please? Thanks.
Are you talking about all the way through, or just to get there?
Well, just to get there first, first thing
It'll
first.
Be there by next week at the latest, and it might be there sooner than that. What happens to it in the Senate, there's a lot of different ways you can subjugate or get rid of a bill. One of those is to stick it in a committee, and that has to be voted on, and a lot of people probably will try to do something of that nature. We want this voted on. No fun and games. No stick it in a committee. No letting it die of old age somewhere in the corner. This needs to be brought out now. It's sort of like the D-Day on Friday. It's very similar to that. This is just almost as important as that. Now you got to remember, first of all, the original liens against the banks. Okay, you're talking finances here. The original liens are still in force. They are a part of, but a separate entity from the lawsuits that Mr. Keenan has filed. So what you have to remember is that they are in fault. Now, that is not default, but in fault right now. And that situation puts them in a very limited time frame to respond. If they do not respond, they will go into default. And in default, getting a judgment is basically what the law requires. At that point, then they are going to have their accounts called. And when you have a call account, that means whatever money you borrowed, and credit cards used to be this way. They'd call the whole friggin' thing for any reason they wanted to. Basically, the same rule applies in terms of being in default with these liens, and the basic operation is very similar. So you're going to have these people in default probably about the same time as the Senate votes on this thing, I hope. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Drake.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Lady Dragon. All right, let's see. We have Nathan from Texas. Nathan, you are live finally.
Howdy, thank you. I just had a couple of comments, actually, for the listeners, really. And I wanted to say that to clarify, what the Second Amendment says is a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And so I wanted to make the point that we all realize that was written at a time when they had muskets. And I've always said that we're going to get to a point where all we have is BB guns, and that's when the whole gun control thing comes in. Like Rick said, all the gun control laws we have basically are illegal under our supreme law, which is the Constitution. They're infringements of our rights to keep and bear arms, and so that does need to be addressed. And I wanted to make the point that a well-regulated militia, a lot of people don't understand what that means. And so to clarify what that means, according to the Dick Act of 1903 or 1902, is that there are two branches or two classes of militia. The first is the National Guard for each state, and which is the organized militia. And then the unorganized militia, or the reserve militia, which is every able-bodied male between the ages of 18 and 45 who is a citizen or who has, expressed interest in becoming a citizen. And so I don't think a lot of people realize, but I think people need to realize that if they fall into that category, then they're already a member of the militia. And so they need to arm themselves, and they need to basically, start doing their duties. And my other point, well, really that's all I have to say. I do have another point. I think we need to offer an alternative, because we have this whole idea that, more gun control would make it safer for us, but I think we really need to start pushing the idea out there that part of the reason that we have so many shootings and everything is because of the gun control laws that we have now, which are actually null and void under our supreme law, which is the Constitution. So I think that if we do a little bit better of a job of offering to everybody that alternative of actually having, our free state and, having our Second Amendment, having our guns, whatever size that is, whether that's a Tomahawk missile or an Army tank or an aircraft carrier, we need to get rid of all the nuclear weapons, but excluding those, I have just as much right to carry any kind of weapon as our so-called government does. And I think people need to understand that we did have the assault weapons ban, which banned fully automatic weapons. And, that's really what it's a matter of, is we've kind of negotiated with them. We've let them take away certain calibers, certain weapons. And people need to understand that the Second Amendment applies to all arms. It applies to all firearms. As far as I'm concerned, it applies to bombs and stuff too. So people just need to understand that it's about equality. The reason that that's there is so that they can't just walk all over us. And if all we have is BB guns, then we're obviously not going to be able to defend ourselves against them. So like I said, I just think we need to do a little bit more to offer the alternative. And that's all.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you,
everybody brushing up on our amendments and knowing what we've lost is a real good start, too. Thank you very much, Nathan. Okay, we have Elizabeth from Minnesota. Elizabeth, you're live.
Hi, guys. How are you this evening?
Hi, Elizabeth.
Very good.
First of all, good. So first of all, I just want to say to every single person on this call, thank you for your perseverance and involvement in this epoch, world changes and spiritual changes. And then to you, Drake, and thank you, Drake, Minuteman, and Lady Dragon. Lady Dragon, I want to say an extra thank you. You were a spitfire. I love you all. Yeah, I love you all.
Thank you.
And so,
thank you very much.
Drake. Yeah, Drake or any of you guys, please update us on your very latest of these Keenan lawsuits, the euro. Is there any foreign troops in the USA grounds now, and are they good or bad guys? And then, Drake, you said way a while back, what may happen in 2 days?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay.
That's a load.
Yeah, that's 4 questions in one. Well, touch on the first thing, Elizabeth.
The very latest in the Keenan lawsuits, what you've heard, anything?
Yes, I'm in touch with Keenan on a daily basis pretty much, and we discuss a lot of things that cannot be made public for the simple fact that we don't want interference with what we're doing. Anything that I can do to facilitate what he is trying to accomplish, I will do, and he knows that. This is the reason I've been posting emails from him occasionally to sort of give people an idea as to updates and to standings. Now, in the next couple of days, we have, I want to see the vote. I want to see an overwhelming no to the Small Arms Treaty. I want to see an overwhelming yes to audit the Fed. I would like to see a lot of things. The changes that are coming are not going to be those that people expect because they're going to be of an extraordinary nature. Things that people have taken for granted because that's the way it was and has been for so long are about to change. And this is something everybody needs to be fully aware of. This means that you need a couple of weeks, give or take, of provisions, whatever those may be. I would suggest everybody in there that's able to acquire a firearm, so long as you legally are allowed to have one, for a combination of personal protection and, as was stated, you already been drafted into the militia, and that is something everybody needs to be not only aware of, but also they need to understand what the implications are and the responsibilities. There's a lot that goes with this. So get ready, because there's some things coming in the next couple of days, not just that vote, but other things that have been percolating for a while that I'm looking forward to posting on the website, to be honest with you, and making it public knowledge.
Okay. The second part of your question, Elizabeth, the second little topic.
Yeah, regarding the euro, and then if there's any foreign troops on U.S. grounds, and are they good guys or bad guys, if you can, the latest.
Okay. As far as the euro goes, I think that last email from Neil expressed that the euro can be taken down in 1 day. Not the 2 weeks or this or that, but actually taken down in 1 day through what's called the demand system, which is what the central banks committed to. Now, the other part of this, you'd have to get into some serious research to do, and it would be a long answer, so I'm not going to go further than that. The lawsuits are progressing as the timetable stipulated says they will. The other part is foreign troops is an interesting subject. Some of the people that we used to consider our enemies are more our allies than people understand. And I'm not going to go into the particulars of that, but not every foreign troop necessarily is a bad guy. However, if there is an armed maneuver made by the bad guys, the people you see are not going to be in regular United States issue military uniform. They have to be under the United Nations. According to different mandates by the United Nations, they own us. And I don't think so, but they think so. So if you were to see troops, they would probably be foreign troops, but they definitely would be under UN insignia. As far as I'm concerned, if there is a military action by the cabal, that this is what you're going to see, not United States military. And I think you're going to be in big trouble real quick. So there you go.
Thank you, Drake. God bless you, and God bless all of you. Love you all.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Thank you.
And callers, after you do finish your call, if you will please press 1 to take your hand down so I can bring other people up in the queue. I appreciate that very much. Okay, next we have Carrie from California. Welcome, our friend Carrie.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Lady
Hello,
Ryan.
Carrie.
Hi, Drake.
Hello,
Hi,
Carrie.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, everybody.
I missed
What you got?
the broad earlier. I've been listening to the questions, and my question is, and it's a two-part question. I read on your website, Drake, that I think it was your website. So if I make a mistake, please correct me, okay? Because I'm not perfect. That if we see, we're to engage to the effect, if we see troops in UN uniforms and drones, to engage them. Is that true? I mean, are these UN troops, are they the bad guys or are they the good guys?
Bad guys. And if you see a bunch of drones in the sky, start shooting them down. Just that simple.
Is it
You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. Is it possible, Drake, that there could be an invasion of UN troops on our shores?
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because primarily most of what you are familiar with in the way of finance has been cut off. And the basic financial structure is one of consumerism, similar to a Ponzi scheme. In other words, you have to have new influx or inflow to pay off the old outflow or payoff. Consequently, this is why Europe's having such a problem coming up with a currency to bail people out and help countries stay afloat. That same thing is true here. And so I doubt that they are going to be able to muster sufficient funds to cause the UN to reach out to countries that might be disagreeable to us and have troops suddenly. Right now, everybody is pretty much stymied. They're stopped. They cannot really maneuver much. And you got to remember, 75% plus, and I'm going to say 80% or better, of the United States military is on our side and with us in terms of the overall comprehensive plan. So I think we're in better shape than we realize. It's just that I wanted to take issue with some of the things going on that I don't feel are correct in any way, shape, or form. One of those being the small arms treaty, another being the idea that these people can still come in the middle of the night and get you. They are losing that capability because of the lack of power on a financial basis. That was the key to the kingdom, so to speak. And in the near future, Keenan will take care of the rest of that problem. So we're looking forward to an interesting time. Okay?
Okay, which brings me to the second part of my question. Our monetary system, all these, Federal Reserve notes, are they going to be worthless?
That's a good question. Now, some of these things on the finance end have not been fully decided yet. So I cannot, in good conscience, give you an answer to that as of this point. Now, I can say that the idea is not to totally destroy everything, but to realign it and restructure it so that it is a banking system as it should be. In other words, transparent, and you have a currency that is based in equity rather than actual debt, and there is a big difference. So you may have, and from what I understand, currency issued from the Treasury Department that may say American Reserve note, and that would be our currency. What you have to understand is that the Federal Reserve notes are not an American dollar. That is an international currency. And there's a big difference between having your own dollar or buck or whatever and something that's international. The reason it's international is because it became a reserve currency. And that's how that works.
So all these dollar bills that we have are 1, 5, 10, 20 denominations with pictures of U.S. presidents on them is not American currency?
No, that's an international currency. It is the international reserve currency. And when it got to a certain point, it was decided by varying financial representatives that it would be the international reserve currency. When that happens, then we lost the American portion of the Federal Reserve note. Now you got to remember, Federal Reserve is an incorporation or a corporation that is not designed for we the people, but for itself. Each corporation is designed for its own profit. This is why it operates in the manner it does, for one thing. The second part of this is that as the Federal Reserve is done away with, the Treasury Department will take it over or assist in its restructuring. And you may have a time where nobody will accept regular cash. This is why I stipulate junk silver, 1964 and before, is inexpensive to get a hold of, relatively, in comparison to gold, although it's not a bad idea to have a good supply of both. At least enough to see you through a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most, of expenditures, normal stuff like buying gas, things of that nature.
I'm sorry, what is the purpose
if you put yourself in that position, you'll be fine.
What is the purpose of the pre-1964 junk silver? I mean, how is that?
That goes to the percentage of silver contained in it. It's at least 80% at that age. It can be more, but it's at least 80%. So you take the thing and weigh it, multiply by 0.8, and then multiply that by whatever the exchange rate is or the last reported value of the silver, and that gives you the value of the coinage you hold. In other words, you might be able to take a couple of silver dollars down at $27 an ounce and pay a grocery bill or fill your gas tank or whatever it takes. And that is the ideology behind that, okay?
How are merchants going to know how to be able to do this if it comes
down to that? They better go buy a bunch of postal scales and start getting busy learning how. We need other colors in here, though. I can tell you that.
Yes. Terry, honey, thank you. We're going to try and limit it to one question, and if you'll, that's okay, honey. Thank you so much. Always. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got Eagle from Montana. Eagle, you're live.
Yes. Hi, Drake. Hi, Minuteman, and hi, Lady Doggan.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah. The statement I want to make is that I'm still patiently waiting for you and Drake to call me because I got some very important questions for you. And then the question I have is for Drake, and it's a very simple, direct question.
Okay.
Drake, I am what you call Reiki master. I don't know if you are familiar with that or not. But I'm a Reiki master, and my question is that when everything settles down where we're helping everybody and my abilities are needed, how do I let the authorities know that, I've got the gift to help people?
Okay. You're going to find that there will be a national call by representatives in our present government that will ask for specific talents, trades, and expertise. Some of that, a lot of these people are going to need to be certified public accountants. If you can imagine the amount of work it's going to take to go through the IRS alone, add the Federal Reserve and a few other things, and that load is going to be extreme and extraordinary. So expect this to be part of some of the announcements within the first couple of days after the freedom is regained. Okay?
Thank you very much, Eagle.
I hope that you call me, you and Minuteman call me very soon, because I really do need to talk to you. Thank you.
Send us an email so that we have your contact information, please.
Yeah, make sure, because we're not putting two and two together, I don't think, Eagle, that you're Eagle. You see what I'm saying?
I don't have the internet. Remember I told you last time I only have a telephone.
Oh, okay. All right, Eagle. I will. If you'll hold after the, towards the end of the program, honey, I'll get that information from you again.
Okay.
Thank you, Eagle. Thank you very much. Okay, we have Melanie in New York. Melanie, you are live.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Drake, Minuteman, and Lady Dragon. Question for Minuteman: is a nail gun appropriate instead of a real gun?
Bear in mind that a nail gun in a tight fix will probably help you out, but if you have to go any distances, it's not going to be very effective at all. If you're up to 25, 30 feet from, a perpetrator that intends to do you harm, a nail gun will probably injure them enough to slow them down. But bear in mind, it isn't as effective as a firearm. My advice, ma'am, get a firearm if you can.
I went to apply for a gun. I went in a couple weeks ago, and they said it was going to take me a year to get a gun. That I had to apply
for a gun, ma'am?
Where are you located?
I'm in New York, upstate New York.
That's the problem.
Oh, boy. I take it you're in an area then that says that you have to have a sheet of paper says you can have a handgun.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I could buy a rifle, I believe. I'm sorry, I don't know much about guns. I never bought a gun, but yeah, I could buy the long one. That's a rifle, right? But I can't buy the pistol. Without a
well, ma'am, I'll tell anybody a .22 Magnum rifle, 22, or even a shotgun, preferably a shotgun, 410, 20 gauge. Women seem to prefer the best. Get you one. Pump shotgun, automatic shotgun. I guarantee you, perpetrator's going to hit the floor. So that would be my advice: is if they're trying to restrict you, being able to defend yourself in your home. With handguns, then by all means, go around the corner and grab yourself a legal pump shotgun, automatic shotgun, even a single shot, double barrel. Well, anything that suits your fancy, ma'am, to defend yourself in your home.
I have no idea what suits my fancy, to be honest with you. I've never held a gun or shot a gun, so this is all new to me. So.
Well, actually, I believe... Yeah, there's usually places where you could go, shoot. I would advise you 20 gauge shotgun. You'll probably find it very easy to handle.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, oftentimes your local sheriff department has gun safety and training classes.
Okay. All right, thank you for that.
You can also get with the militia up there, ma'am. They can offer you the same training.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So you go to ramsite.com. Okay, go ahead, Melanie.
Okay.
We have several callers. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. One other quick question. My friend told me today that 2 weeks ago in Michigan, there were 380 militia dead and 1,200 FBI dead, and this came through the Russian form of communication. Is this true?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, we pretty much discussed that several programs ago actually, and that was false flag. That was there was no merit to any of it.
Yes, all my friends in the Michigan militia are still well alive and are doing fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank goodness.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, we have Bob from North Carolina. Bob, you are live.
Hi, I've got some very encouraging news. I have an online friend from Colombia, South America, and I verified this myself in their English News Colombia report. Since 2005, they have been arresting politicians, I suppose judges, lawyers, citizens, anyone who's getting drug money. It's been going on since 2005, and they've arrested 11,000 plus people, and they're still not a month goes by when they aren't arresting some more.
That is encouraging news.
Uh-huh.
Now we just get Americans to do the same.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much for your call. Okay, we have Kent from Dallas. Oops, excuse me. Kent from Dallas, you are live.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Drake and fellow patriots.
Hello.
Good evening.
Your program is certainly insightful and meeting many, many needs of people who are being encouraged by your advice and perspective. I appreciate it very much. At the same time, I always listen critically to everything that I participate in. And it would appear to me that apart from the great advice and information that you're sharing with people, the primary impetus that has produced your popularity in recent months has to do with what Bob was just talking about and what you talked about earlier this evening, that of the mass arrest. And just moments ago, and I must admit that my computer ceased to perform, so I had to call in on the phone, and I may have missed some dialogue that's to the point that I'm going to address. But you were talking, Drake, about the arrest of Harry Reid. And it just seems to me, and this has been raised on calls in weeks in the past, it seems that this is your particular opportunity to demonstrate some leadership of your movement as one individual who has all the ability to go out and perfect that arrest just as much as anyone else that you're speaking to on your broadcast. So my question would be, why not assume that mantle of leadership and go demonstrate that by perfecting that arrest within the next several days?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, I am a voice and a messenger, and not as such been chosen as a leader. Second part of this is that when you go after a senator, that senator has to be from your state, and he's not from my state. Therefore, I would not have the legal wherewithal in terms of standing in order to prefer charges.
Very good comment. I accept that.
Somebody from the state that Harry Reid comes from needs to do this, and this is one of the problems. Now, I have been hunting for some people that are direct representatives of my state in order to start facilitating something where I'm at. So, no, I'm not sitting on it, but I also am not allowed to overstep my bounds of authority as a citizen, go outside my state, and start fooling around with somebody else's representative. There are laws about that, and I don't need those kind of problems, so that's one of the reasons I do not do that. Now, if somebody's got brazenness, etc., and would like to do so, I will offer all of the services I can find in order to support that person.
Right. Well, it's an extremely good response, and I appreciate it. I also am the individual that's been sending you emails over the last week regarding what I thought was the fairly flimsy stance of one of our national newscasters that was talking about that Vienna Convention. because I felt that that was a bit of slightly misinformation that was standing in the way of people having a correct understanding of the way that vote's got to come down in the Senate. But I appreciate everything you're doing, and I'll bow out now with continued thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who's next?
Don't tell me that mute button's back again.
Gentlemen, I have something good that you're gonna love. I'm on Ron Paul's site, and Ron Paul is talking about that he's talking about the shooting, and he's saying that people usually are looking for the government to have a fix, a quick fix, but he says the state should protect your right, but it cannot develop our character, which I think is very good, because he's saying that do you really want to live in a world of police checkpoints, surveillance camera, and metal detector? He's talking about, that everybody has to be responsible for personal responsibility, and he does not advocate more government, That's very important. Okay, guys?
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
I'm beginning to have some contacts with some of these government officials, specifically senators and certain congressmen that hold a fair amount of influence, and I'm hoping that they start paying real good attention to the information so that we can maybe accomplish some of these things that we've been trying to get off the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, I will try to find somebody over there to talk to me, so I can add more information in the future on Ron Paul,
You're echoing.
Yeah, we're getting a bad echo. Are you there, Lady Dragon?
Yeah, but I'm not doing anything.
Okay, you dropped just a minute ago, but okay, try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I said I was going to try to reach his office to have more information about what Ron Paul is doing,
That would be great. You can tell him to, if he'd like, you could invite him on the show.
Yeah, that's one thing I will try.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Ed in Long Beach. Ed, you are live.
Hey, hi, everybody. Hey, Drake, I got a real quick question. I already know about the BIS thing over there in Europe. That was shut down. But Neil Keenan, what he's been saying about that the printing presses for, the funny money that the Federal Reserve has been put out, have they actually, is this really, they've really been shut down or what?
You talking about the Bank of International Settlements?
No, I'm not talking about the BIS one. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve printing presses over here, because Neil Keenan says that they've been shut down. Now, is that true or what?
Yes, they have.
Oh, really?
And the reason they've been shut down is because they're not allowed any more equity from the collateral accounts, which is what the basis of all currencies, to include the euro and everybody else's, is based on. If you do not have the equity from the collateral accounts, you cannot print money. And so basically we have shut that down. Now, to go along with that, after a specific date, and I have not been able to find that friggin' date, I'm looking for it, monies that have been printed here in the States are not being honored outside of the G8, G20.
Right.
And this is something everybody needs to be aware of. If your money in your pocket happens to be dated that way, you're liable to end up with empty pockets when you get to a foreign country, and that is not a good situation. And so I'm working on trying to get that. As soon as I do, I will post the information so that everybody can be aware of it and protect themselves. But yes, the printing presses have been shut down. The only manner in which someone has the authority to use the access of the collateral accounts for the exact purpose of issuing currency is through Neil Keenan. He is the only person I know of who has the legal authority to release or make deals according to the collateral accounts. and all of the families have gotten together and offered him that particular standing simply because he's been absolutely honest with in his dealings and with them totally, and told them that it's going to take some time before it's possible to get everything fixed, but that it is coming. So that answers that one.
Refiling the second lawsuit, right?
Yes, he's refiling the second one.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks a lot, Drake. Have a good one.
Yep.
Thank you very much, caller. Appreciate it. Okay, we have Rashad in New York City.
I would like to say hello to everyone and that I really appreciate your hard work and your dedication. And on behalf of, I guess, everyone, I hope that everything is going to work out for, you know, the embetterment of humanity. Now, my question is my grandmother owns a brownstone in New York City, and I wanted to know what is the reality, or what do you think will happen once we get to a point where, if they're allowing debt, what do you call it? If they forgive us of our debts, will the house still be owned by us, or how does that work?
Okay, for the very first time in over 200 years, you will own property. It's been that period of time since they started the fun and games with real estate in terms of claiming it on a realistic and I call it illegal, but they say it's legal basis. They claim the property, period, all of it. Therefore, we are nothing more than tenant farmers, so to speak, sharecroppers, if you will. And so consequently, nobody owns the property that they're sitting in. The forgiveness of the debt is a portion of the repayment. The second part of the situation comes when you get what's called clear title to lands or properties that you actually own. What people don't realize is that you do not own your cars, your personal property, other than like the clothes on your back. This is how far this has gone. So as these things get fixed or taken care of or addressed, then everybody will be, as I said, we've got a lot of education. Everybody will be notified that we're going to need people with certain talents and abilities, certain skills. Second announcement, and you're probably talking a few days, will be one where this is your education. This is what is happening. This is how it affects you. And I don't know how long that show will run in terms of the amount of time it's going to take to basically explain it. It's not real difficult in comparison to the complexity of what we deal with today. It's going to be simplified extraordinarily. So that's basically what you're looking at.
Wow, that just one last question. It's really quick. How do you see impoverished neighborhoods around the world coming to an equal standard once things have been settled more so?
Okay, it's not a question so much of an equal standard as it is quality of life.
That's exactly what I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, the people that need are going to have those needs addressed. This is the reason for the collateral accounts. This is why they exist. They do not belong to any individual or family. They belong to the people of the world. And this insidious banking system that we have had for so long has been stealing from it or borrowing against it illegally since forever. Now, they're going to be called to repay all that, and that's going to cause them extraordinary problems. Hopefully it'll totally, absolutely, once and for all, get rid of it. And at that point, then, we will be in a position where we are actually free.
Wow. I appreciate you guys, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rashad. We really appreciate your call. Okay, Drake, we got 2 more callers and about 4 more minutes. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, we have Melanie from New York. There we go. Melanie, you're live.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for taking my call again. my question to you, Drake, if we do arrest the senators and congressmen, et cetera, there's still the elite families that are controlling them. So what is it going to matter if we're going to arrest them when we have to arrest the top elite people, families who are controlling everything anyways?
Well, now you know why the military is going to be so extraordinarily busy and may need to ask us for help. Chasing these people around in the woods is not going to be easy. Catching them is going to be something else. Then getting them out of the woods is going to be another fun and games problem. The elites or owners or world-class, whatever you want to call them, they already have seen the handwriting on the wall. They are trying to formulate any sort of maneuver possible to extricate themselves and put themselves out of reach. I mentioned on the previous shows a thing called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Basically, it makes the UN and its Agenda 21 look like child's play. They become immune to all laws, period. They can do anything they want with anybody they feel like, at whatever extent they feel like they want to take it. This is why it's so important that the Trans-Pacific Partnership be nullified. This is the other part or secondary step of what would be called the mass arrests or sweeps. This is where you take out that oligarchy or hierarchy of the financial elite. And there's only a few of them that are not dirty, so to speak. And there are a few. I was kind of surprised in a way. I figured they all would be dirty, but they're not. And so, but when you take the majority and do away with them, whether that's putting them in a FEMA camp or sticking them in jail for life or whatever it might be, then you have the balance of freedom restored globally. In other words, they're not just located here. They're located in several places. And so it's going to be a pretty interesting effort to take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Okay, we got one last one. Linda from Pennsylvania, you are live.
Oh, hi, everybody. I want to thank you all for everything you're doing. And my question is, I guess, either for Drake or Minuteman, whoever can answer this question. I've recently joined, I'm from Pennsylvania, and about 3 weeks ago I joined Pennsylvania Militia. And in speaking to my local sheriff, who is a female, she has told me that she's kind of limited at what she can do because due to statutes, that her duties are only, to bring prisoners back and forth and maybe go to foreclosures and things like that. How do you respond to something like that, and what can we do, if we need our sheriff on a larger capacity?
One question first.
Yes.
Is that person elected?
Yes.
Okay. That makes them the supreme law enforcement officer, irregardless as to statute and other gobbledygook regulations of wherever they're located. Their county is theirs. They can tell the governor, senators, federal government, or whomever to take a hike. They are the, quote, and I'll say this again, supreme law enforcement officer for the county, period. Nobody, whether it's you cannot statutorily remove federal law and the basis of the constitutionality of the office through regulation. It don't work that way. In other words, what the people that she needs to talk to right now are extraordinarily busy, or I would make a reference. As an elected law enforcement officer, she has all the rights of any sheriff, period, within her county. Now, she's a county sheriff, I take it, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Tell her that she does have the authority, that it's mandated by powers greater than her state, and that the state is lesser in power on a legal basis than the office she holds. I don't care about that statute. You can take that and use it for toilet paper.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Let me add something in here real quick, ma'am. You need to get her in touch with Richard Mack. Richard Mack won a lawsuit against Bill Clinton in the 90s.
Well, there was, excuse me for a second, Rick, but she did direct me. There was a thing that we had, we're pretty close to Delaware, and there was a huge thing there where the sheriffs are getting together, and some local sheriffs down there, I think Sheriff Mack was going to be talking, and she was going to go to that, and gave me the information I was going to go, and that's where, Senator Biden's son or somebody is trying to take the in the state of Delaware. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he's trying to take the ability of the sheriff down there away from him.
Richard Mack, ma'am, only lives about an hour and a half from me, and we do keep in touch.
Okay.
60 seconds left.
Breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay, we have 60 seconds left, and I just wanted you guys to have an ample opportunity to close out.
Okay, I'll say my usual. Get her done.
Thank you, Dan Dieter, for being with us tonight. Lady Dragon, Minuteman, do you have any closing statements?
Ditto on what Drake said. Get her done.
Okay, Lady Dragon?
The same thing. Call everybody that is your representative. Know if they are voting against and for the gun treaty. That's very important.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you again on Sunday, and everyone be seeing you on the Global Voice 2012, and with that